Good evening, Saturday, July 27th, 2024, here in Sarasota, Florida. This is video 5 in a 30 video series that I will be recording, one video per day, releasing the videos the day afterwards, right up until August 22nd, when I next leave town for a gig. Now, this past weekend, I just met another really impressed with this young man. One of the most enjoyable aspects of my event world is that despite me getting older, I continue to meet more and more new people as I stay in the industry. And a lot of them tend to be a good deal younger than me. Not across the board. The gig in Canada involved a lot of us senior folks, which was actually excellent and amazing in its own way. But I continuously meet, and I would say sort of the average age that I've worked the most with over the course of my 21 years in the industry are late 20s, early 30s, like in the mid to late 20s and into the early 30s. So I met this young man this weekend, 20, I think he's 28 years old, just recently moved to Florida from New York with his girlfriend, who is somebody I've known peripherally for quite a few years, kind of watched grow up from afar. And he was chatting to me about a book that he read recently called The Courage to Be Disliked. And boy, did that hit a nerve. So tonight's video is going to be titled The Courage to Be Disliked. And I'm going to chat not for too long because I didn't sleep but for 2 hours last night. So I'm a little not going to be eloquent in tonight's video, but I have to find and stay with this momentum. And I'm so stoked because tomorrow begins 25 days with no event at all. And I am so excited to continue to see where this series goes. But it dawned on me that, especially when I talked to this young man yesterday, that this particular aspect is in fact something I still tremendously struggle with. The courage to be disliked. I, like a lot of people, I grew up as a people pleaser. I'm not one of these individuals who enjoys pushing buttons. I don't enjoy playing devil's advocate. I don't enjoy turmoil and confrontation. I am a harmonizer. As I said in yesterday's video, I am constantly looking for win-wins. People looking for win-wins aren't looking to upset people. However, one of the hardest lessons, and trust me, there have been a ton over the past almost 12 years since taking my leap of faith into manifesting my own dream life and my own dream work. I have had to learn that just by doing that, just by doing it, I upset people. I've upset people. I make people uncomfortable. By virtue of the choices that I make, let alone when I try to talk about it or explain it or go into any detail, because the vast majority of my network is still comprised of people who have found tremendous success in what I refer to as the mainstream world. And I am never, ever trying, I'm never intending to judge somebody. I'm never intending to make somebody uncomfortable. I'm never intending to upset people. But I know, and I've witnessed on my own journey, that as I continue to come into what I tell people, I'm following a call of destiny. And I really, truly, humbly believe that. And I believe we all are destined for specific things in these lifetimes. And it takes a tremendous amount of perseverance and courage to tread and to find and to pave your own path, as opposed to walking a path that's determined by somebody or something outside of you. And so I have struggled with I've struggled tremendously with this. In fact, it's one of the main reasons that I almost would say that some of my best work came out in my very first year when my naivety was so high. I was so unbelievably naive, excited right out of my spiritual awakening, leaping in almost with just this blind faith, but yet simultaneously with more knowing and more confidence in my heart about what I was doing than ever before 12 years ago, but extremely naive, extremely naive. And one of the things that I was most naive about was how upsetting my journey was going to be and continues to be, especially for people who perhaps might not. I don't know. I can't even explain. That's not for me to say why it's upsetting to other people because there haven't been many that have spoken to me about why I make them uncomfortable, but I feel it. I feel it. Relationships have ended. A lot of them have been relationships that were at one time extremely close. And it's something that I haven't yet mastered. I haven't yet made myself and learned how to be uncomfortable with stating things, stating clearly when they're my opinion, and stating and knowing that my intention is never to hurt. But I am here to share first and foremost my own truth, and I do believe there are greater truths with a capital T, truths that go beyond our limited version of this man-made reality. And I also believe in calling things as they are. Now, that can be a tricky, slippery slope, calling things as they are. But that's why so many of my strong opinions are based on the wide variety of experiences that I've had. Listen, I was a teacher in the classroom. I'm tremendously educated. I've got two undergraduate degrees, a graduate degree, like so when I criticize the educational system, I was in the educational system. If I criticize certain aspects of how we focus females, feminine energy in sports, it's because I was a Division I college athlete. I had that experience. If I criticize aspects of corporate America, no, I didn't have a career in corporate America, but that was the path that I was on all the way right up until my first job out of undergraduate. I worked and walked the halls of Microsoft, interestingly, after my spiritual awakening, which made that experience that much more profound and sort of unbiased because I wasn't playing the corporate game, but was smack dab in the middle of one of the biggest corporations on the planet. So when I criticize things, when I offer my opinions, I'm basing them on my direct experience to the greatest extent possible. And the other reason why I felt I had to sort of get a little bit uncomfortable and risk the rockiness of this video is because one of the reasons that my world of work individually has not taken off is because I haven't had this courage. I've continued up until this point to really hold back my real thoughts and even my real experiences because of the extent to which I know there are people that may watch that I know that will be upset and people that I don't know. And it's just not something that I've learned to be comfortable being, somebody that says something that upsets someone. But adults have to be adults and adults own their own emotions. And the primary reason that I reflected upon this young man's bringing up of this book, a book that I definitely plan to order and read, The Courage to Be Disliked, is because the essence, I would say again at a high level, the essence of the work that I feel I'm called to do is to not only provide these criticisms of the world as it is right now, but to also be living, I don't want to say solutions because I'm not going to sit here and say that I have solutions to all the world's problems, not in any way, shape, or form. But I understand that if I criticize something, that it behooves me, if I'm still making a choice to be part of something that I'm criticizing, well, then I don't really have a lot of room to criticize. I need to step away from it or, find something that is a different option. And because so much of the world at large, as I shared in yesterday's video, just upsets me and has upset me since I was so young, because it never rang true to me what was being conditioned in us on so many levels throughout every part of society. And I apologize because that's probably going to be a little vague, but what that meant for me was when I had my spiritual awakening, when I started my company of me, I was vowing, I have vowed to be the change to every degree possible. And then as my spiritual development, as I've evolved spiritually, as I've traveled my journey, I've understood different, I'll say, greater truths of how reality unfolds in front of us. Again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I have all the answers. I absolutely don't. But what I've come to understand as a universal truth is what we give our attention to, we feed. 100%. Our attention is our greatest contribution to what reality is. And that goes to what you're paying attention to and what you're giving attention to with your thoughts. And all a belief is a practiced thought. So our thoughts are where it all begins, and then those thoughts lead to actions and words outside in our lives. And I am bringing this up because, very specifically, because of the political nature of this country. Now, I do not participate. I haven't participated in decades. I've only voted one time in my life, and I won't say I regret it, but I kind of regret it, and I don't have hardly any regrets. It is a system that is meant to divide us. It is a system that, again, my opinion, is 100% bought, and it's corrupt. It's corrupted. It's bought. It's so clear. Both sides, they've still got us fighting over this blue and red side, and they're two sides of the same bought coin. It's not the system that the founding fathers, and there's even debate of what the founding fathers were trying to create and why when they were here. It's just, and as we enter and get inch closer to another nonsense election, the attention that we give, I invite, and I know I'm going to upset a lot of people that are currently in my network, and I may lose people in my network because of this opinion. And I'm not intending to judge anybody. I'm just saying, if you continue to choose to listen and you hear certain things, I don't feed either side of that. I haven't owned a TV since 2008, whatever, 16 years. 16 years. I have not owned a TV in 16 years. I barely go to movies. I drive a car with no radio. I do not, I am so deprogrammed from those things that I'm not feeding it. I'm not going to debate. I am certainly not on either side. I often tell people I'm on everybody's team and nobody's team. Everybody's team and nobody's team. I'm aiming to be a unifying, harmonizing, win-win individual out in the world with everything that I do. And if you can't, I just ask yourself, if you still follow the political system and you identify on one side or the other, how do you feel about the other side? How do you feel about the other side? Does it generate feelings of love for your neighbor? Does it does the process of participating make you feel good? Does it make you care about people that are different, have to hold different beliefs than you? How does it make you feel? Because what I see and continue to see is something that is absolutely designed to divide. It's divide and conquer. And humbly, my humble opinion is one of the greatest things we can do to break the cycle that I referenced in yesterday's video is to rise above the blue and red bullshit, to rise above it. It does not take much digging to see the conflict of interest that is inherent and present in every piece of our political process. To think that one side is better or different than the other is, again, I don't intend judgment, but my belief is that's a naive, absolutely naive belief. And the evidence is right in front of us. And as we enter another election cycle, I just invite everybody to the fact that, to contemplate the fact that we contribute with our attention, not just politically, with whatever you're giving your attention to, you are feeding, you are contributing. So are you giving your attention to something that's having a ripple effect of peace and harmony? Are you giving your attention to something that's divisive and angering and frustrating? And that's for each one of us to decide individually. But I have to have the courage, because this isn't the only opinion that's going to trigger other people. And in order to share what I've done and why and because what I'm working to do with my company and with my partnership that I've recently engaged in, what we're looking to do is to provide options for something other than feeding what always has been. So inherent in that, I wouldn't be drawn to create my own options if I wasn't having tremendous criticisms and negative experiences here. So if I'm criticizing this, it behooves me to then work to be the change and to find options that are different. And what I found was the only way to find something that was different was to create it myself. And then that required me to know myself in unbelievably deep ways, which I've always been highly introspective. So that wasn't a new thing for me. But one of the most powerful things was recognizing, man, I don't want to go off too much on the tangent. I could go off on all sorts of tangent with this topic. And I fumbled through. This was not a particularly good video. I'm going to wrap it up for now. The title again is going to be what was it? The courage to be disliked, having the courage to be disliked. And that's going to be something that's going to be key and integral for me going forward if I'm going to honor my call. So that's it for tonight, rough as it was. We'll talk to you again tomorrow, starting a wonderful 25 days remaining of no event, and I'm going to be able to get into a fantastic flow. So I invite you to stay with me. Okay, have a good night.